Welcome to my post-free agency 2021 NFL mock draft, which I believe is going to be significantly better than my very first version of my mock draft. Now that some things have been cleared up and we saw some teams fill out some of their holes, we have a better idea of what each and every team might be looking for. Before we get started, just reminding you guys, we're giving away a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X to a subscriber that follows me on Instagram and has my notifications on Instagram. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! With the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there is any other prospect that the Jaguars are looking at. There has been no other player that has been mocked to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the number 1 overall pick. And as a matter of fact, if you see any other mock draft that has Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or Penne Sewell going to the Jacksonville Jaguars with the number 1 overall pick, you might as well just close that mock. The entire 2020 NFL season was literally viewed as a tank-off for Trevor Lawrence. He's considered to be the most transcendent talent that we've ever seen since the days of Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning before him and John Elway before him. Urban Meyer literally decided to make the jump to NFL football just because he would get an opportunity to coach Trevor Lawrence. And I don't care if he has ties to Justin Fields, I just don't see anyone else going to the Jacksonville Jaguars with the number 1 overall pick. Trevor Lawrence is going to be thrusted into a remarkable situation. The Jaguars have another draft pick later on in this draft. They already were able to pick up some good weapons in free agency by poaching Shaq Griffin from the Seattle Seahawks and getting Marvin Jones to come over from Detroit. DJ Chark and Marvin Jones should make fantastic weapons for Trevor Lawrence. James Robinson was extremely underrated last year, and it looks like this new era in Jacksonville is off to a great start, at least on paper. With the number 2 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson out of BYU. Now, originally I said that it would be a waste to take Zach Wilson number 2 overall when you have Sam Darnold on a rookie scale contract, but when you have Mike LaFleur as your offensive coordinator and you sign Corey Davis to a pretty hefty contract, in addition to LaMarcus Joyner, bringing back Marcus May on the defensive side of the ball, and considering the fact that they hit on their pick of Mekhi Becton last year, there's really no other player the New York Jets could take number 2 overall that isn't a quarterback. Zach Wilson is one of those players that if he's drafted to the right team, he could be a remarkable quarterback for years to come. That throw he made at his pro day reminded me of Patrick Mahomes' like arm strength, and combined that with Mike LaFleur, and I feel like the Jets have a bright future. I expect Sam Darnold to get flipped for a second-round draft pick, and like the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have another first-round pick that they could spend this draft and even next draft. So things are looking good for the Robert Saleh era in New York. With the 3rd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Justin Fields out of Ohio State. The number 1 knock on Justin Fields is his ability to process defenses, and even that seems to be fairly sketchy to say the least. Justin Fields is the prototypical Kyle Shanahan quarterback. Like Robert Griffin III, which is another player that Shanahan had success with, Justin Fields is a dual threat QB that does have accuracy and remarkable athleticism, and I fully expect Kyle Shanahan to be able to get Justin Fields up to speed with NFL defenses after redshirting a year behind Jimmy Garoppolo to learn the complex Kyle Shanahan offense just like Jimmy Garoppolo had to do before him. Getting a dual threat QB is crucial for Shanahan because it makes his zone running scheme that much scarier, and you complement that zone running scheme with a remarkable defense that's built upon former number 2 pick Nick Bosa, and the San Francisco 49ers could be contenders for years to come if they hit on Justin Fields. With the 4th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Penne Sewell out of Oregon. Now, the Atlanta Falcons are in a very uncomfortable situation. They have a quarterback that they have to pay a pretty sizable amount of money to, and they have under contract for another 3 years. So taking a developmental QB with a top 5 pick like Trey Lance just doesn't make a lot of sense with me, especially when the Atlanta Falcons have the ability to potentially prolong Matt Ryan's career a few extra years by getting him a generational type left tackle prospect. I understand it's not the flashiest pick or the sexiest pick, but Matt Ryan seems to be doing just fine, and typically as quarterbacks age, they get better and better if they have the right supporting pieces. And I believe Matt Ryan could be the quarterback that gets the Atlanta Falcons to the promised land if they're able to protect him further. Now, also, if you ask me, the Atlanta Falcons have more holes on the defensive side of the ball than on the offensive side of the ball, but I don't see a prospect that's good enough to justify taking number 4 overall for the Atlanta Falcons this year. With the 5th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Raeshawn Slater out of Northwestern. Now, Joe Burrow really wants to reunite with Jamar Chase because they have a connection going all the way back to their days at LSU together, but for the love of Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengals fans alike, they need to go into this NFL draft doing whatever it takes to protect last year's number 1 overall pick. We already saw what could happen if Joe Burrow isn't properly protected, as he wasn't even able to finish his rookie year in the NFL. So whether they're lucky enough to have Sewell fall to them or it's Raeshawn Slater, either way, I expect the Bengals to come out of this draft with an offensive tackle. With the 6th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Kyle Pitts out of Florida. I typically am not a fan of drafting tight ends anywhere in the first round, but at the same time, I don't think I've ever seen a prospect like Kyle Pitts. Pitts might be billed as a tight end prospect, but in reality, he's more like a wide receiver that is in a very long and tall body, so they have him at the tight end position just to create matchup nightmares for opposing defenses. This is exactly the type of go-to weapon Tua Tagovailoa needs in order to succeed with the Miami Dolphins. You put him alongside Devonta Parker and Will Fuller, and I'm expecting the Miami Dolphins to make significant strides this year. With the 7th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jamar Chase out of LSU. Jamar Chase is one of the most special wide receiver talents we've seen in some time, and people may have forgotten that because he didn't play college football last year. But needless to say, he is one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in a while, with an incredible ability to just come down with many 50-50 balls. The way he plays reminds me of a prime Dez Bryant, and he's versatile enough to do whatever the Detroit Lions would want him to do in their offense. With the 8th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. Trey Lance is this year's biggest question mark, as he has all of the tools you'd want in a quarterback, but he's also extremely raw. He is the type of quarterback that you're going to want to have sit for at least a year or two, and the Carolina Panthers have that sort of infrastructure. They have Teddy Bridgewater, who ironically is going to be the bridge quarterback to Trey Lance, and in the meantime, they could focus on bringing Trey Lance up to speed with NFL offenses and surrounding him with a good enough supporting cast so he doesn't get absolutely pummeled once he goes out there. He has a remarkable arm and this uncanny ability to carve up defenses with his feet, and is a dream quarterback for the modern NFL. But his biggest issues are his accuracy, and the determining factor for Trey Lance's success in the NFL will be his ability to work on his accuracy moving forward. With the 9th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, I have the New England Patriots trading up with the Denver Broncos to select Mack Jones out of Alabama. Yes, I understand there's a famous clip of Bill Belichick shaking his head as Mack Jones overthrew a wide receiver at his pro day, and I don't think that's going to be enough to scare away Belichick, because the main reason why Mack Jones is such a sought-after prospect is because he has the ability to not only go through his progressions rapidly, but was pinpoint accurate during his time at Alabama. Now, of course, the number one knock on Mack Mack Jones is the fact that being a quarterback for Alabama isn't necessarily the most difficult position to play in because you have a remarkable supporting cast around you. But Mack Jones has made plenty of good NFL caliber throws to justify this trade up for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Also, we already know about Belichick's relationship with Nick Saban, so that makes plenty of sense here. With the 10th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Patrick Surtain II, a cornerback out of Alabama. Back-to-back Alabama prospects go off the board here, and the Dallas Cowboys have been really making a push to improve their abysmal defense from last year, bringing in a highly respected defensive coordinator in Dan Quinn, making sneaky additions like Keanu Neal, and at the time I'm making this video, they are also being linked to the likes of KJ Wright and Richard Sherman just because of their respect for Dan Quinn. So continuing to build that defense after losing Chidobe Awuzie to the Cincinnati Bengals is going to be extremely important, and Patrick Surtain II could potentially give them that cornerback prospect they need moving into the future, and also having two Alabama cornerbacks that are going to reunite in Dallas sounds very exciting to say the least. Patrick Surtain said that he would absolutely love to reunite with Trevon Diggs. With the 11th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Devonta Smith, a wide receiver out of Alabama. This is it for Daniel Jones and Dave Gettleman. They went out this offseason and signed Kenny Golladay. They also took on John Ross on a one-year prove-it deal, and now they get yet another weapon for Daniel Jones to fully figure out the answer whether or not Daniel Jones will be the answer under center moving forward. They drafted a offensive tackle for him last year as well, and they have a transcendent running back prospect in the form of Saquon Barkley. They went and got their answer at head coach in Joe Judge. So by drafting Devonta Smith, the New York Giants are essentially asking Daniel Jones, are you the answer at quarterback or not? With the 12th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Waddle, a wide receiver out of Alabama. The Philadelphia Eagles desperately need wide receiver help more than anything in the entire NFL. And at this point, they're just going to select the biggest playmaker that they could potentially get their hands on, and that is Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. Jalen Waddle is my best deep threat in this entire NFL draft and could potentially form a remarkable connection with Jalen Hurts moving forward. With the 13th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the LA Chargers select Christian Darasaw, an offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. The Chargers pretty much have everything you'd ever want in a team. They have a remarkable pass rush featuring Joey Bosa. They have a pretty good defensive back unit whenever they are healthy, that is. They have their quarterback of the future in Justin Herbert. They have a really terrifying wide receiver core, and all they need to do at this point is protect Justin Herbert. And that's what they do with this pick. With the 14th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Elijah Vera Tucker, an interior offensive lineman out of USC. Yes, I know it's not the flashiest pick, but we saw what Dalvin Cook was able to do whenever those running lanes were open for him last year for the Minnesota Vikings. And their offensive line could use a little bit of a boost, which is why I have them taking Vera Tucker here. With the 15th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Micah Parsons, a linebacker out of Penn State. Honestly, in an ideal world, the Denver Broncos are able to take a quarterback within the top 10 of the NFL draft. Unfortunately for them, there aren't really any good quarterback prospects that warrant completely moving on from Drew Lock. So in that case, they invest further in a linebacker that falls down a little bit due to character issues. With the 16th pick, the Arizona Cardinals select J.C. Horn, a cornerback out of South Carolina. I honestly have the Cardinals taking J.C. Horn mainly because they really need to fill that hole that is going to be left by the void of Patrick Peterson. Horn is going to be joining a very exciting Cardinals defense featuring the likes of Budda Baker, J.J. Watt, and Chandler Jones. With the 17th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Tevin Jenkins, an offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. This pick is honestly as a result of the recent trades the Raiders have made, trading Gabe Jackson and Rodney Hudson, pretty much left Derek Carr just standing in the pocket, getting ready to be sacked within a second's notice. Hopefully this pick will give Derek Carr some help. With the 18th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Naji Harris, a running back out of Alabama. Honestly, the Miami Dolphins had a huge pressing need at running back over the past year, and I feel like it's the final component of their offense that they're missing. Reuniting Harris with Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a lot of fun for not only Alabama fans, but for Miami Dolphins fans. Not only is he very difficult to tackle, but he also is a phenomenal pass catcher, which should give Brian Flores some versatility in his offense. With the 19th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Washington football team select Jeremiah Owusu-Koromoa, a linebacker out of Notre Dame. The Washington football team are building an identity that Riverboat Ron Rivera built for himself on the Carolina Panthers. They're establishing a ferocious defense and building around the likes of Chase Young and Ryan Kerrigan. Kerrigan is getting up there in years, so getting a brand new linebacker might be a good idea. With the 20th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Rashad Bateman, a wide receiver out of Minnesota. Honestly, the Bears have more pressing needs if you ask me. However, I don't believe there's a single quarterback prospect that is worth taking at this point of the NFL Draft. So in this scenario, they get Andy Dalton, an additional wide receiver, to pair with Allen Robinson. With the 21st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Azeez Ojulari, an edge rusher from Georgia. No matter what they say about the Carson Wentz trade, don't get it twisted. The Colts' identity is primarily on the defensive side of the ball, and they invest in that further by taking a flyer on a fairly weak edge rushing class. With the 22nd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Caleb Farley, a cornerback out of Virginia Tech. Honestly, Caleb Farley could be drafted significantly higher than this, but the Tennessee Titans recently lost Malcolm Butler, and they have a huge hole to fill at the cornerback position. This is an absolute steal at the 22nd pick, in my opinion. With the 23rd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Kwity Paye, an edge rusher out of Michigan. The New York Jets are really building a remarkable defense with the likes of Marcus May, LaMarcus Joyner. They already have Quinnen Williams in the interior, so adding Paye to the edge could potentially make them a defensive force, especially when you have Robert Saleh as your head coach. With the 24th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Travis Etienne, a running back out of Clemson. The Pittsburgh Steelers have needed an answer from the running back position ever since Le'Veon Bell has left. And although James Conner has been solid, he's been maddeningly inconsistent, not to mention fairly injury prone. So they get themselves a fantastic weapon with boom or bust potential on the football field in ETN. With the 25th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Jalen Phillips, an edge rusher out of Miami. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. What about Gregory Rousseau? Well, honestly, Jalen Phillips is starting to make a push to the top of the draft boards, and if you actually compared his numbers to Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa's combine statistics, you'd get an idea why. I feel like Phillips is definitely worth the risk here, even more so over Rousseau. With the 26th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Gregory Rousseau, an edge rusher out of Miami. Greg Rousseau is flying up and down draft boards like crazy. In the earlier part of the NFL season, if you came back to a mock draft from maybe 4 or 5 months ago, he was considered to be a top 5 pick. The problem is the production wasn't necessarily there, and he hasn't played in about a year, and that 1 year wasn't necessarily enough to convince scouts that he was the real deal. And if he is, then the Cleveland Browns get themselves one heck of a steal. With the 27th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Trevon Moehrig, a safety out of TCU. The Ravens really needed an answer from the safety position ever since they lost Earl Thomas, and they get that in Moehrig here. With the 28th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Greg Newsome II, a cornerback out of Northwestern. There are some question marks on the New Orleans Saints defense, and I don't want to get into too much specifics on it, but they might have a hole open at the cornerback position, and if they do, Greg Newsome could potentially step in and play some meaningful snaps for them. With the 29th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Eric Stokes, a cornerback out of Georgia. I don't care what you say. I feel like Aaron Rodgers has the offense clicking and he's okay offensively, but he could use as much defensive assistance as he possibly can get. So bringing in Eric Stokes to potentially challenge Kevin King is a great idea in my opinion. With the 30th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Terrace Marshall Jr., adding a wide receiver 2 to complement Stephon Diggs to further invest in Josh Allen's development is always a good idea. With the 31st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Samuel Cosmi, an offensive tackle out of Texas. I don't think I even need to give you much of an analysis here. If you watch the Super Bowl, you'd understand why they're making this pick. And with the final pick in the first round of the NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Christian Barmore, an interior defensive lineman out of Alabama. The rich get richer over here. Ndamukong Suh is getting a little bit older, so it might be a good idea to have a first-round interior defensive lineman to complement him this year.